it was like dark was the boogeyman. So my whole life was running from the dark, running from anything of the dark. So it was a huge shift for me to realize I had to embrace my shadow because I was running from it my whole life.
This is the fundamental truth of the root of almost all spiritual and emotional problems that people have. Am I running away from my shadow? Am I running away from my pain? Or am I willing to go towards it?
Be open to be amazed at what shows up for you, because I don't believe we're meant to sit in suffering for long.
This once horrible experience actually becomes a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So how can pain turn into a gift?
Acting on emotions as guides to truth. Stillness. Surrendering to what is. Seeking. Using my gifts with purpose. Light. This is the emotional blueprint.
I have been divorced from my children's father for 15 years, and it's been rough. It's been attorneys and custody battles and finance battles, and anyone that's been in divorce knows it's not the funnest of times. So we've kind of just kind of done our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
When the kids are at my house, I raise my kids the way I do. He has a completely different lifestyle. He raises the kids in his home, and there's no real co-parenting. It's more you do you, we do, and the kids have to somehow survive in the middle. And I got a message from him on Sunday, and usually it's just a paragraph. We don't text, we only email. We have big boundaries on this because, like I said, it's been tough.
Yeah.
So I get this email, and I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I'm like, what is this? And it kind of took my breath away, and I thought, oh gosh, I can't do this. I'm not ready for this. And I start reading it, and it's a completely different spirit behind how he's talking to me. And he's like, we have amazing kids. I've got a son who's having a rough time, and he's talking about supporting him and what we can do. And he said, I appreciate you as a mom. And I thought, I literally stopped and started sobbing. 15 years, I have not heard a compliment. It's been war. Conflict. Or just underlying energy. Like, you can't say something nice. We don't say anything at all. So for him to have reached out and to been so kind and to be talking kind of like as a team, like, hey, we don't agree on lots of things, but we have a kid here that's having a rough time. What can we do? And I'm willing to do what it takes. And I know you're willing to do what it takes. Let's start the conversation. So I think,
I think it's like the spirit of you. It's like I think it's,
Corey, you just nailed it.
It is the spirit of you. It's like he had a moment where he was able to, like, I don't know, maybe be still for a second, or maybe be like, step out of his own. And when we're still, we see the truth.
So can I have the mic for a second and tell you the miracle that I can't believe I'm going to actually share?
Yeah.
So this is Sunday, a couple days ago. Last Saturday, I kept having the impression to do a silent retreat with myself. Like, turn off my phone, turn off the podcast, don't Marco, don't call my bestie and process. And it had been coming up a lot. And I thought, I don't want to spend a Saturday silent. And it kept coming to me.
Where you don't talk at all?
Not at all. Like, no talking.
Like, because they do this in, like,
yes,
in some
and beautiful
Buddhist
yoga meditation. Like, you go and you are silent for a week. And I kept feeling like I need to do a silent retreat. This has been this impression for a while. And so last Friday night, I called my bestie and said, listen, don't call me. Don't ask me questions. I'm going off the grid until my son comes home at 6:00 on Saturday night. So from now Until then, I'm out. And she's like, okay, see you on the other side. So I hang up the phone.
See you on the other side.
I have this beautiful meditation Friday night. I go to sleep. I wake up on Saturday and I'm like, I'm really doing this. Like, I'm not going to text or call anyone. So I go put my phone in my car and lock my phone in my car and was like, all right, what am I going to do today? Immediately put on my shoes. I go out on the trail. I spend 2 hours. No headphones, no nothing, just me going inside. And I'm walking, I'm thinking of all the things. My brain is going, blah, 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 blah. I get home and once again, the grass calls and I go to lay in the grass. And I went, what?
The grass.
The grass.
We'll talk about that next week for sure.
The grounding grass.
Oh.
And I go lay in the grass and I'm laying there and because I can't speak. And I just check in and I ask and I just say, all right, what am I doing this for? Because there's no joke that I have been guided to be here. So what is it? What is it? And I sat there and doing the seeking. And immediately I close my eyes, I start breathing, and my ex comes into my awareness. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't get, you're out. Like, I'm doing a spiritual thing, and this is a very non-spiritual thought, so you got to go. And it was like, nope, sit with it. And so I sat there and I was just like, dude, he never comes into this was 15 years ago. Like, this is old news. I have a recent stuff that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there. Okay. Ooh. Let me slow it down. I sat there and the vision of my 3 kids and me and their father and his husband. So it's my 3 kids, their 2 dads, and me in this picture. And someone is taking our picture and we're all like, this is really weird because we haven't been as a family for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been in a picture together. The kids have been living in this existence of 2 parents totally torn because it was a very traumatic, I was 9 months pregnant with our 3rd when my husband told me, hey,
wow.
I'm going to go live with my lover, my male who I'm in love with. So that blew my world up. So anyway, so it was very hard for me to sit and see this very spiritual, clear picture of all of us getting our picture taken and we're smiling. And the kids are in the middle, like looking, this is really weird. My mom and dad are in the same picture. And my ex looks at me and he's like, you never would have thought this would have happened. I was like, yeah, never. And we're laughing and we're smiling. And here we all are taking this picture. And I started crying and I thought, okay, this is weird. And then it was like, hey, now what? And the impression, like your beautiful story, it was, I can't say these things to him in real life, in 3D, but I can maybe have this spirit to spirit talk. And I was like, nope, I'm out. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm not doing this. It was like, sit your butt in this grass and keep going. And I sat, my spirit guides are very like military, drop them to 20, So I'm laying there. I'm like, okay. And so I sit there and I say, hi. This is weird, huh? And it was like he was right there energetically. I'm like, this is weird. He's like, yeah. But I was like, it's time. Our kids need this healing. We don't have to be best friends. We don't have to go back in time. We have very different lives, very different values, and I can respect and we can do our own thing. But it's time for the kids because we have this one son that's really struggling. And he was brought into the world in a divorce, right? So he has this, I'm not wanted, I'm not loved. Anyway, so long story short, I'm spirit to spirit talking to him, saying it's time and I'm sorry and I want to do better. And, I don't know what this looks like, but please forgive me and I forgive you. And I came out of it silent for a couple hours. And of course, when 6 o'clock came and my son came in the door, I was like, I can talk now. And so I don't think there's any coincidence that I had this energetic exchange with him in my heart. And 6 days later, I get this email from him.
Oh, no way it's a coincidence.
No way. So
No
you
way.
want to talk miracle? You want to talk something
Wow.
really, really hard?
So this is when he emailed you and said, I'm grateful for you as a
Uh-huh.
mom. So it's an email.
Yeah. And I was just like, what the heck just happened? So when you say, oh, he felt you, he could see you. Well, I kind of picked up the spiritual telephone and was like, hey, we got to get our act together for our kid. Regardless, he needs to feel an energy shift because he is half me, he is half you, and he is being ripped into because his parents don't get along. So that's my week.
That's amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks so much for sharing that.
It's big.
Just the faith and the spiritual understanding to be like, wait, I'm just going to talk with his spirit. I know it kind of just happened, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
Most people from a place of intellect would be like, I can't talk to him like I can't talk to him physically because
there's no way.
But spirit to spirit, it's.
And I had to ask permission. There has been times in the past where I've asked and said, hey, can I talk? He's like, nope.
I believe that's
and I go, no. And I asked, I said, hey, can I talk to you? And it was a yes. So I kept going and I had this whole, remember, I couldn't speak. It was all in my mind. And what's weird is because back up to the prompting of the silent retreat, because I am looping, I'm still healing, I'm still coming out of trauma. So I have my kind of my speech, my story, my defense that I think is more of a automatic for me. And I think my inner knowing knew I had to shut up. I had to duct tape because I was so used to the program of what I was spitting out. And I had to really get quiet and let my heart show my mind what was really there to be healed when I thought this was my current.
Let my heart show my mind.
Yeah.
That's what it's
I had to get out of my own way.
That's what it's about.
I had to shut my freaking mouth.
Yeah.
And here we are now. Now, who knows what's going to happen? It might all blow up again. But as of Sunday, another email on Monday, nothing Tuesday. Who knows what'll happen?
Well, it's clear, though, that there was a softening
100%.
for you and for him. So it is going to be different for sure. And who knows what, like you said, who knows what that looks like.
But I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I laid down my weapons. I was like, no more. Fine. This is about my son. He needs help. And what's interesting is I told my 22-year-old daughter this story. And as I was telling her, she started crying. And she doesn't cry. She's this beautiful, strong athlete. And I'm telling her this story and she's just weeping. And I looked at her, I said, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. You kids deserve so much better. And I want you to know I'm committed to do better. And she's looking at me with just shock. Like, what is coming out of my mother's mouth? Because she knows how bad I was hurt and done wrong. And I was like, it's over.
What a beautiful example for your daughter.
Oh, she was just looking at me like, what's going on with my mom? I said, so we'll see. And she goes, oh, so you're going to do this for the youngest? She's like, what happened to the healing for me? She had a dig. I said, you're right. I'm a little bit late, but I'm committed, honey. And I think she believed me. So there's some really
amazing
beautiful
miracles.
Healing this week.
Amazing. I've shared things like this, similar to our stories. I've shared some things like this with clients. And often their response is a question, a sincere question, which is like, how do you know? How can you tell if those were just your own thoughts, if you were just making it up, versus the actual like truth and like spiritual truth? Who cares? But I do think there's, I totally agree.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I totally agree. Who cares? But it's like, I think that is a really powerful question. And the question is like, and this is kind of what reminds me of what your story is like, this powerful question of like, how can I really tell if I'm just making stuff up or thinking of stuff from my own thoughts versus it being like from God or from a place of truth? How can I tell? And the key is to making sure that the thoughts or feelings are coming from a place of stillness. When I look at my own life and I see these times that I've been spiritually foolish, because we were talking about this last time a little bit, believing, maybe confusing my own optimism with the truth. The X factor is, as long as I am committed to seek from a place of stillness, we can really trust what comes up in that space. And so that's why stillness is so important. We're going to say it every podcast, Kimberly. It's so huge.
And I didn't need stillness. I need stillness plus zip. Like he was like, how much more still? But back to what you said last time. Who knows if this is good or from God? And we say, we laugh, who cares? But really, you said we can't fake these feelings. You can't create these feelings.
Nope.
So if you know you can't conjure these up and they're coming up, trust them, especially if they are full of light and love and emotion, because so this was what was so weird to me, because I'm like, this is not my norm. This is not where I go. So why is this coming up? Well, better trust it. Oh, there's still more here. I thought I had buried that, moved on, figured out my way of how to move forward. And it was like, oh no, girl, you're just getting started. This is now. Almost like how you said even the time before that, you can't do the work when you're in emotional dysregulation.
Imbalanced, yeah.
So I've pretty much been in emotional imbalance for over a decade. So now I've had almost a year to really get still. And it's like, oh wait, now I'm processing stuff from 15 years ago. I thought I was a lot further along, but I guess I'm not. But I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's freaking do it.
Let's heal some lives.
Starting with our own.
Right. Starting in our own homes.
Starting right here.
Because I won't say it.
I want to tell you a short story, and then I'm gonna ask you some questions about your journey, my friend. And we're gonna start learning from that, because we haven't talked enough about your story. So I want to tell you the story about a Cholima.
A who?
Cholima.
Cholima.
The Cholima is a horse in Chinese culture and Korean culture. And this horse runs all day and all night, and it's the fastest horse. So it's just running constantly. And the myth about a Cholima is that the Cholima will run so fast for so long that it will split from its shadow. And then the horse will become lost, but then the shadow remains. Okay, so this is a parable about all of our own lives. What are most people doing? They're trying to run away from their shadow. Okay, so what is the shadow? What is our shadow self? The shadow self is our insecurities. It is the pain that is still there, but it also is all of the gifts that make up who we are. Our spirit, you could even say. The shadow is our spirit mixed in with insecurities and pain, right? So just like the Cholima, most people are constantly trying to run away from it. And the question of why do people thrive in life, emotionally and spiritually? Why do people survive? It's because they're trying to integrate. They're trying to go towards their shadow. In other words, they're willing to go towards their pain and their insecurities, rather than constantly trying to run away from it. And the body cannot live without the shadow. The body cannot live without the spirit. So this is the fundamental truth of the root of almost all spiritual and emotional problems that people have. Am I running away from my shadow? Am I running away from my pain? Or am I willing to go towards it? You have always been an example to me when I was a young lad, a young therapist, you were open with me about your story when I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. And your willingness to go towards it, even though it was like breaking you down and like breaking you apart. And you just you were not going to run away from it. And you never have.
Nope.
Okay, so that's what we need to talk about.
Corey, I can't handle all this emotion today. Thank you.
Of course. So you are not a Cholima.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Don't be like for all of us. So anyways, don't be like the Cholima, but you've always done that. And that's been our bond because ever since when I was growing up, I was constantly running away from my shadow.
Oh, me too.
Right. I think most of us were.
Yeah.
Until we're like, wait, this is creating all of this suffering. I feel empty. I feel lost. I need to go towards this.
I need to integrate and embody all the parts of me.
And guess what? When we start going towards it, things suck.
So bad.
Things seem like they're getting worse because it's easier in the moment to run away from our pain. In the moment. But long term, it creates so much more suffering.
Oh, for sure.
So I love the religious connection or the spiritual connection with this, maybe like good versus evil or God and Satan. God is always interested in us doing he's always interested in us doing what's maybe hard now, but what's going to give us so much fulfillment and peace later. Harder now, but way better later on. But Satan or evil or thoughts are trying to constantly convince us to take the easy route now. And sometimes that's fine. But easy now, more suffering later. And
it's not sustainable.
No.
Period.
How long can people keep this up?
Oh, they keep it up till the day they die.
It is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. From that good and evil point, I had to almost reprogram that because growing up in a very spiritual house and learning to always seek the light. Don't do anything dark. Don't have dark friends. When you feel something dark, immediately, right? It was like dark was the boogeyman. So my whole life was running from the dark, running from anything of the dark. So it was a huge shift for me to realize I had to embrace my shadow because I was running from it my whole life. And to realize that the beauty as an artist, as a photographer, light and shadow is what creates masterpieces. You cannot have them you know what I mean? Like they both have to exist. So why am I running from my shadow? Why is my shadow evil? No, it's just a part of me. It's pain.
What's the pain and insecurities?
The trauma.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff. And so, yeah, no one wants to feel that. But if it's constantly coming up and getting in the way of everything, you eventually have to look at it. I mean, right?
Right.
So that was a weird shift for me to be like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to go sit in this dark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to go sit with this evil or these evil feelings because what was done to me is evil, right? Period.
I have this beautiful Japanese client, but she has had a huge impact on my life. And one of the things that she mentioned a little while ago is we were talking about something similar. And she said, Corey, I never realized this, but she taught me about what the Chinese character of body, it's made up of two characters. So body is made up of two characters. And those characters are, the first one means person, and the second character means book. I just think that's so powerful when you think of our existence and as our body. I'm a person, but I'm also a book. And so that's really what the shadow is. It's the book of our life. And just like this character, the person in the book, they make up the body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could call it like the physical body and the spirit make up the soul, you could say. They're meant to work together. So yeah. I want to ask you some personal questions
About my shadow work?
about
Let's go.
about your journey. Cause for the record, me and Kimberly we reconnected like a few months ago, like strongly. And we went on the retreat, which was beautiful. Me, her, and 20 other people, which was amazing. But like, I want to fill in some of the gaps from 7 years ago up until now, because you are a completely different person. You're so much stronger and confident and just like, you got it. And I know life hasn't been easy for you. And in some ways, maybe it's even been harder than what I remember.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But okay. So I'm a young therapist and I'm meeting with you and you're going through it. You're going through it. You're fully facing all your pain and your shadow. You're letting it all in all the time. Like, you're going all in on it. So my question is this, like, what happened next? Fill in a little bit of the gap for me of like, what has been the most difficult aspect of your healing so far? And how have you been able to move through that?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the most difficult thing has been the impact on my children.
So because I went through because I experienced a lot of pain that was not my fault.
Right. How I showed up.
It really affected
my kids.
Well, it always affects our kids. Yeah.
And they were innocent in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I was innocent too. I mean, given I am not perfect and I've got flaws up the whatever. But as far as...
But you were innocent.
Yeah. The stuff I was processing when I came to meet you is I was dealing, was I mid-30s? And I felt like I was losing my mind. I started having repressed memories coming up that I was like, wait, what is this? And this is not what I ever remembered. What is going on? Why am I having these nightmares? Why am I having these thoughts? Why am I having these dreams? And it was really scary. And I literally thought I was losing my mind.
For sure. Yep. I remember.
Yeah. And I didn't know what was up or down. And unfortunately, I was in a marriage with a spouse who had no idea how to handle this. Who does? I didn't know how to handle it, but I did not have that support. I did not have someone that I could lean on. So after doing this kind of on my own, I thought I got to go get professional help, and lots of it, because this is getting worse at home. And their kids, my kids are losing their mom. And so I was working as a full-time professional photographer and doing catalog work. And I went into HR and said, I'm taking a leave of absence. And I walked out of my job, which was the scariest thing ever. Because I thought, how am I going to do this? And I thought, it doesn't matter. This is, like you said, you come to a point in your life where you go, there's no more. I have to pause and look at this.
I can't keep running away from it.
Cannot keep running away from it. And this
and
stuff
you probably weren't actually to that.
No, because I've always been open.
It was just so heavy.
Yeah.
It was like the weight of it was like there. And it's like, I have to do something about this. I'm not running away from it, but it's like, it's just there. It's not going away. I got to do something about it.
Yeah. And it wasn't something I'd carried consciously my whole life.
Sure.
This was coming in from left field. And I was like, what is happening? Why would I think this all went out? So
this is really common when there's trauma when we're younger, because our physical body will suppress it, or it's actually called repression in this case, I believe, because if we experience trauma when we're younger, our brain knows, or our spirit or brain knows that we don't have the capacity to actually feel it and let go of it. And so the body has to put it in a file, and it closes that file. And then it waits until we're older before it opens that file, and then the emotions start coming out. For most people, this happens when they go through puberty as a teenager. Their emotions are fully setting in, and then and for you, maybe it did to some degree, but it started coming out later.
Yeah, so my 30s. I read somewhere that it was like you can have this happen in your mid 30s.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee it comes out at teenage.
Yeah,
I think it leaks out for everyone to, this is my belief from what I've seen, that the pain, the pain from childhood, early childhood, leaks out to some, I believe it leaks out to some degree during teenage years, but it's just crazy at that time anyways. We have a bunch of emotions happening. We don't really know what's going on, and
Yeah.
most of us don't have anyone to help us know how to deal with any of that. So
No.
anyways.
Yeah. And I was like experiencing extreme depression, extreme anxiety. I had lost pretty much all human color. I had turned gray. My spouse said, "You were gray." And my kids were like, "What's wrong with mom? She's just crying all the time." I didn't know what was wrong with me. And
That's so hard.
oh, it's so scary. So, so scary. And so I came in to see you and work with another couple of therapists, a trauma specialist, and we just created a great bond. And it was really a beautiful, special thing. And I want to give you kudos for being this young therapist to be able to handle all that came in your door when I walked in.
Yeah, I promise I didn't do anything.
That's not true.
Literally.
No. And so
The purpose of that, I don't think I did anything to help you. It was mostly, we did develop a connection though, and then now we're here. So that was the biggest
no,
purpose.
we both knew way back when that
Purpose of
this
it.
was not going to be the end of Corey and Kimberly. And then we run into each other in Disneyland.
Oh, don't even.
So yeah, to sit down for the first time in my 30s and have to do, or hear the term shadow work, right? Or
Cholima.
or, what's EMDR? What's, all these therapeutic processes to help retrieve past memories or repressed memories. And yeah, it was probably one of the darkest times of my life.
Okay, so you're a lot stronger now. When you look at your journey so far, what has helped you the most? There's probably some residue, more healing to have happen. Who knows?
For sure.
I'm sure we're both going to be diving into that, just personally, and using that to help us grow and to hopefully extrapolate some good stuff from it to help other people. What has been the most beneficial thing that you've done to help you to heal from some of the pain? How have you done it? Because it's clear you have.
Oh, there's so many things I've done, from therapy to yoga to breath work to retreats to art therapy to, name it. I feel like I've tried it.
But for someone that's maybe like, hey, like, I have a lot of pain that I know is down there. Kimberly, what's one thing I can do in my life? Because the same way that you heal, there's some universal truths to that apply to every single person. Everyone's journey is a little bit different, specifics when we get into the details. But there's these universal truths of healing that apply to every single person, especially when it comes to emotional healing.
I think for me, and I know it sounds so cliche, but it was really, really learning how to love all the parts of me. Loving my shadow, loving my pain, loving my gifts, loving my talents, loving my weaknesses, and really getting to know me and all parts of me and accepting all those parts. Because the more I developed that self-love, the more I became aware of who I was holistically, spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got stronger to make the really hard choices to get out of really hard situations. And so
that were currently going on in your life. Okay.
So to me, but I couldn't have made that hard decision and, left my last marriage if I hadn't developed self-love and self-worth that I didn't have. I didn't know I didn't have it. And so I really had to dig deep and be like, no, I'm actually worth more than this. And this is so unhealthy. And I've got to pull. It's like I see a grenade and I just pulled it and I blew it all up. Whereas before I was trying to hold it on and keep it all together. And okay, I got to keep spinning all the things. I had to let it all freaking just fall. And that was the scariest thing for me, who needs order and control and knowing what's next, to completely surrender. I would say that's what it is. I full blown surrendered. Said, I cannot do this anymore, and I'm willing to do whatever it is to stop this bleeding. I mean, I was bleeding out. So it was
You're sharing something that I've never seen not be true
right.
with so many people, myself included. And what I've never seen not be true is this question of like, if I'm really struggling emotionally, what's the first thing that I need to do to start healing? And the first thing that we need to do to start healing is we have to address current problems. We have to this goes back to what we were talking about last time. The natural order of healing, the healing with gentleness, is I have to address current shame that I might have, like this belief that I'm like flawed and there's something wrong with me. I have to be willing to start to look at that. I have to start having boundaries in my life so that people aren't continually repeating the painful cycle. So it sounds like the big shift that you made and that most people need to make when they're in is I got to stop the bleeding. I have to recognize like what's mine to own,
That's what I was just gonna say.
how much is my fault
Right.
and how much
What?
is not.
Yep. Yep.
That's a big,
Mhm.
and that's the shame piece that we were talking about last time. It's like that's a big thing, because think about it. It's like when you're struggling emotionally, like you were talking about, and like for anyone, it's like, what's wrong with me? Like clearly there's something wrong with me. I'm crying all the time. Like what's wrong with me? Like I can't
I can't keep my job.
communicate in my
I can't
relationship.
anything. Yep.
Yes, whatever it
Yep.
is. And it's like, this sounds so cliche, but the answer is there is nothing wrong with you.
Mm-mm.
This is not your fault. And I know that sounds cliche, but shame, remember what shame is? Shame is a a big part of what shame is a belief system that there is something wrong with me and that this is my fault. And so some of it might be your fault. You might have made decisions, and someone might make decisions in their life that are not good for them, but you're not seeing the full picture. And so that sounds like that's what you started to do. You started to see the full picture of who you are and the innocence that you as a child and some of the horrible things that happened to you.
But how do I explain this? I would also say I had to really, and I'm still working on this, every day. I had to shift my belief system and the way I viewed the world from victim to empowered. Yes, I was victimized. There's no doubt. I was totally victimized. But when you're victimized, you kind of take on this narrative archetype of a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put yourself in situations and it plays out as fun little mirrors.
Yep.
Being victimized. So I was like, wait a minute. Yes, this is not my fault, but what part of this is mine? Oh, wait, I'm actually still standing here allowing A, B, C, and D to happen. Oh, that's mine. Most people would get up and leave, be like, screw this, I'm out. Instead, I would sit there and try to convince someone to treat me better. Oh, I'm still there. That's my fault. So that was also really hard because I felt like it was justified to be this victim. Of course, I'm a victim. Well, that's not going to get me anywhere.
Right. Exactly.
So I had to, like I talked about having that strength, like no one's going to empower you. No one's going to save you. You got to save yourself. And right, metaphor, you know what I'm saying? So,
well, yeah.
So, but I had this belief that some external thing was just going to save me and it would all make it better. And so I was just going to lay around and die. And I was dying as it was happening, waiting for something to change. And I was like, wait, I have to change myself? And with beautiful help, right? But that was hard to have to like pull up my big girl pants and be like, girl, you're the only one that's going to do this for you. It's not going to be your spouse. It's not going to be your parents. It's not going to be your therapist. It's not going to be your church leaders. It's you. And you can get beautiful help. You're not totally alone. That's not what I'm saying. But you're in the driver's seat. And I think I was so used to being in the passenger seat and letting life just happen to me and run me over. And I was just like, no more. How are we going to do this, sis? Let's go.
Well, and obviously, if we even rewind more, the turning point for you was really just the willingness, like you said, the faith or the willingness to like quit your job and like sacrifice money and time to figure it out.
Hit it head on.
Yep.
My
And it
kids
was
owed, yeah.
rough. And it was rough. It was really rough.
Yeah.
But like,
do you remember I'm sitting with Corey. You guys picture this.
well,
I'm
I was
sitting
fine.
with
I'm
Corey.
just saying, I felt for you. I was fine. It wasn't rough for me. It was actually like entertainment.
Well, it was entertainment because here we are doing neurofeedback, and I had this like cap on my head with all these probes, and I'm like trying to literally shock my brain into healing. Like I was doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's so easy after doing all of that. It's like, but I'm grateful for that journey because I think I had to rough and tumble it and try all these different things to get to the point where it's like actually quite simple.
Yeah. So it's really fascinating because the part of your story that maybe is not as relatable to most people is this gift that you have to be in a state of suffering, a lot of suffering, but to have a lot of your worth and yourself and your humor and all of that still intact. This ability, we've talked about this, you're carved out very deep. And don't get me wrong, I know it was all consuming at times, but I remember even when you were going through, honestly, the hardest to this day, some of the hardest things I've ever heard in someone's life, period. I've never heard someone go through more difficult things than you, period. And I've seen over 1,000 people. But even then, you still had this gift to, like, when I say it was entertaining, your suffering wasn't entertaining, but you've always had an amazing personality. And so you were like, you were funny, but you were like crying all at the same, you'd be able to switch off. So thank
you, Corey.
Yeah. My point in saying that is that's the part that may not be, because that's a gift. That's just it's just amazing how you're carved out so deep. So with people, it's all consuming. They start to, they just don't have those beautiful parts of themselves that are still intact.
They weren't intact some days.
You're totally right.
No,
yeah.
But I know I so appreciate that because I knew there's something so deep in me that was like, we're not giving up. And there were so many times when I was done. Like, this can't possibly be happening. This can't possibly be my story. This can't possibly be my marriage. This can't possibly be like, this is not who I am. How is this coming? Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought,
yes,
I'm making good decisions in life. Why am I getting hit by a semi over and over again? And I had to trust there was something bigger. Mm-hmm. I do. There's no doubt. I sit here and say, oh, I do this all on my own, but there is something so much bigger and greater and beautiful that has led and guided me through this journey. And even when I was alone, I wasn't.
Do you know why? I think this is the part that is relatable. Why was that intact for you? Well, guess what? It's intact for anyone if there's two things. This feeling guided, and even though you might not feel that way, but this truth of you are being guided if you're doing two things. The first is a willingness to open up about your suffering and if you need to start getting help. And the second is a willingness to do whatever it takes to get to where you want to go.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. When that happens, God or the universe lays out the path before you. You just, I do love that Bible scripture that talks about, I'm going to botch it, but leading you by the hand, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and I already botched it. But lean not unto thine own understanding. And it really is like you're being led by the hand. And I love that visual of, if you are super willing, this visual of like a kid holding on to someone's hand, and all you have to do is just hold on. They know where to go. They know where to take this. You can let go of that. You just keep showing up, and that's what you did. And me and you both have further to go in that process, but I just think that's a beautiful truth.
I do too. Aho. Do you know, as you talk about holding this hand, right? So my whole life, I used to have that silly footprints poem. Do you remember that? Like,
Please don't bring that up.
right?
I'm just kidding.
But you know what I'm saying? We all had
Footprints
it.
in the sand.
Oh yeah. The freaking footprints.
I actually think that's really cool.
Yes. And so, of course.
Just not when it's on a canvas.
Right. By your kitchen sink. Right by the disposal.
Next to the sign that says live, laugh, love.
Right next to the sign.
Yes.
Yeah. So the footprints thing. So all growing up, I had this, I was raised very religious.
Explain what that is though. Because some people might not know. Footprints in the sand.
Yeah, you explain it.
I honestly don't.
Okay,
I'm disconnected.
It's a picture.
I intentionally disconnected from it. But I do think I remember some of it, and I think it's good.
Yeah, so it's got, is it 1 or 2 sets of footprints? We're botching this, man. Edit this all out.
I can look this up for you guys.
Yeah, please. There's either 1
Spiritual
or
botching.
2 footprints in the sand.
I don't know if it matters, does it?
Moving on. But my point is this. Growing up, I always had this beautiful belief and was raised that I had this savior that was holding my hand, right? Believed that until life got real dark and I felt very alone. And when I reached out, okay, hold on, let's slow this down. And I reached out and would pray and beg for that hand, and there was no hand. There was nobody there. And I thought, well, that's not okay, because I've had experience after experience of that presence and that knowing being there. And so when that was removed, or for whatever reason in that time of my life, it shifted. And as a therapist, you know this, you do this inner child work. And you, especially with a lot of my trauma as a young girl, I had to, and my therapist would help me walk through this process where me, current day Kimberly, would close her eyes and envision this beautiful, innocent little girl. And she was so scared and so sad and so confused and so terrified. And current day Kimberly would have to go through this exercise where she would reach out to her and talk to her and say, listen, I know right now is so hard and so scary, but I promise you, future self, you're grown up. You have 3 beautiful children. You're this talented artist and, A, B, C, and D. And I got you. Do you trust me?
I got you.
And it was me helping her. And I don't think I would have ever really been able to embody that and really picture that if I didn't feel so alone and didn't have that external, that I really started working with future Kimberly. 4-year-old Kimberly, future Kimberly, 13-year-old Kimberly, future Kimberly, 30-year-old Kimberly. And I would just do these practices. And I forget the actual term. What's the, it's not an integrating process, but it's something that my trauma therapist helped me.
Lifespan integration?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, inner child work?
Yeah, just whatever that. But that became my practice, and I got really,
Lifespan integration, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, current day, going through this pretty traumatizing divorce a year ago, I'm now future Kimberly and future Kimberly. I'm not going back. It's here. It's now. It's in my face. Now what? And this beautiful shift, this beautiful gift of future Kimberly. I don't know who she is, but I got to know.
We kind of know who she is.
I got to know her.
Yeah.
And she was the one that helped me get stronger and empowered, because I did not have that in me. I was broken down. I was betrayed. I was done. She showed up And she was like, you got this. We don't give up here. The story does not end here. You will have happiness and love and all of it. And so this like total switch from Kimberly to magical male, right? Christ, God, not that there's no disrespect to that and no less to that. That was just put on the shelf, and I got to really get to know my spirit. And it is the greatest gift.
That was your source of hope.
Absolutely.
That we were talking about last time. That can look very different for everyone.
Everyone. That's just what showed up for me. I
yeah,
didn't know.
Because that's what you needed. And yeah. Wow. That's beautiful.
Whereas like from 0 to 30, it was always Christ and God. And that was so special. And I will never, ever discount that. I had so many beautiful stories and experiences that made me who I am today. But it was just interesting how my healing journey shifted a little bit. And I had to develop this different part of me because I think I needed that inner strength, that inner just grit to get out, pull the grenade, and blow it all to shit to start over. And so now here I am, 11 months.
11 months sober.
11 months sober. Yep, it's the truth. That's 11 months, no contact, doing great.
Right.
And it's been such, I think, I mean, and ask anyone, just toot my own horn, like my friends, my family, like, what is happening to you? How is this happening so fast at this accelerated rate of healing? And I'm so grateful that that's how I'm seen, because I should be curled up in the fetal position with a bottle, right? I'd be like, done. And I'm not. I'm just getting started.
You're just getting started.
Just getting started.
Just like me, both of us.
Both of us.
So the hopeful message is that if you're a good example of this for everyone that might be listening, is if you are just willing to be open and willing to do whatever it takes, there's no limits. I'll do whatever I need to. I have never seen a client that comes into therapy with that mindset. Step 1, they're willing to open up about their issues. Cool. That's already happening there in therapy. Step 2, they're willing. Corey, I will do whatever I need to. Client, I believe you. Result, I have never seen someone not get what they want from therapy when they have that. It is the secret sauce. So your example is, it doesn't happen. It almost never happens as quickly as we want.
No.
It's a patience game. It's a commitment. Most people try to skip this step of resolving their current problems and addressing their current emotions. Like we were talking about last time, a lot of people, Corey, I already know what the root cause is. I already know what the pain is down there from my mom or my dad or my childhood. I already know what it is. Can we just go there? No, we can, but this is what will happen. You'll drown, and it'll take longer, and it'll suck. So just the hopeful message that spiritual miracles like what you're describing will happen, and emotional healing will happen, is if you just continue down the path with those two, the willingness,
right,
openness, and I'll do whatever it takes. I'm just not gonna give up.
It's all
Just
totally
keep going.
100%. And to surrender and trust what comes up. Because that I had a way of what my healing looked like. You know, I had my own spiritual beliefs of what everything fits here. And when you blow everything up,
yes,
you have to kind of trust. Maybe this is, like I said, instead of being a God and like this male thing, it was future me. That's weird. That's totally woo-woo. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Trust it, because I truly believe that we are all have this. I don't know I don't know how it's all being put together, but
we can just call it God.
Right. We have our own personal journey, and it's not going to look like this person or this person. And if we can really trust what's coming up, regardless of how weird it might be, it's exactly what we need. It's perfect. just like my little silent retreat. Oh, wait, he's coming into this? No, 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 no. Oh, wait, I got to trust this, So,
Because you were still,
yeah,
and so you knew it was coming from a place of
yeah. So
an
be
inspirational
surprised,
place.
be open
Be
to what
surprised.
can show up, like your beautiful experience with the tree. Who would have known? Be open to be amazed at what shows up for you, because I don't believe we're meant to sit in suffering for long.
What does it mean to be a spiritual person? It means to be open.
Oh, yeah.
That is what spirit, if you want to know what spirituality is, it's openness. I don't care where truth comes from. I will take it wherever it comes from. I just am open. I'm willing to do whatever I need to. I'm willing to be, and open to everything. And, it takes some time, it just makes me think about kind of what we were talking about last time a little bit, where some people are at, where they're really anxious, consistently anxious, or the shame coming up for them quite a bit. And it's like, it's hard to trust yourself when you're dealing with those feelings and when they're heavy. So but once that fog starts to clear, then you're in the space that you're describing. And me, I want to talk about a little bit more detail of that and discuss some detail that might be helpful for people. But anything else, my friend, you want to share on this before we talk about? I want to talk a little bit about some of these aren't absolutes, but trust some of it and be open to it and see what happens. There's some detailed steps to healing that I definitely think would be cool to talk about. So any other thoughts though before we chat about that?
No.
Cool. Let's say that you're in a place where your current life is like pretty good. And you know that there's pain down there, or maybe you don't. But let's say you do, I guess, in this example. So your current life's pretty good. The waters are calm. Current life is pretty good. A question that a lot of people ask me, well, it's like, how do I start to let go of pain? How do I actually do that? And my answer to that is like, if you are ready, if your current life is pretty good, pretty balanced, that's what it means to be ready. If you are ready, the process of letting go of pain is pretty natural and instinctive. If you really are willing to do whatever you need to, and you're just hungry to let go like you were of this pain, it's so hard to describe. How did you actually let go of some of this pain? It's like, oh, I don't know. I was just open and I was just doing it. And it's like, yes, that's the story for most people. It becomes very natural and instinctive. But having a little bit of a guide and a practical application to it can be super helpful too. And so that's what I think would be cool to talk about a little bit.
Well, I think of the people that feel like life is going good, but I'm kind of ready. I would say, look at your triggers. Look at what lights you up, and let's go there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, if you have this thing, this pain body, this energy, and you really want to let go of it, I think we talked about this before. You have to replace it with something.
Not necessarily.
But I would say
sadness specifically. Yeah. Sadness is a part of the pain. If you want to have more fulfillment in your life, it has to be replaced with something. But if the pain is able to go away, with the exception of sadness, if you don't replace it with something, it's like, it's just a letting go. Like, for example, hurt.
Okay.
If someone has really hurt me, I do need to feel that as a first step, and then be willing to feel that. And then, we can just get into it. But you can, there's a process of simply letting go of it. We're probably saying the same thing. I think you actually are right. But then you do have to replace it with, or I don't know if I replace, but hurt is going to demand that you learn a deeper lesson for it to completely go away. Right. And I think that's probably what you're talking about.
It's more of like, yes. It's like a vacuum.
So
you get rid of something, you have to replace it with something like,
Actually, that is true 100%. It is.
Yeah. I mean, I
I
think
actually
so.
like that terminology better. Sometimes I'm
What do you
rigid.
mean?
Sometimes I'm rigid with my own terminology. I like the way you said that better.
What do you mean?
It's about replacing pain with something for it to completely go away.
Yeah. Like forgiveness.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Beautiful.
But
Wow. This is, yeah.
that's why I
good.
love our chats.
It's really
Does it?
powerful.
That's how I had to see it. I had to see it literally as like a tangible energy that I had to shift, because if I let go of sadness and then go, okay, I just had a nice big cry, and then get up and go do the dishes, there's this open, gaping vacuum.
Yeah.
And guess what? That sadness is just going to kind of come right back, because that's what's been there. It's just this resonance.
Okay. So let's talk
So it has to be an intentional, like,
yeah.
I am getting rid of this, and I'm actually going to put in maybe compassion or, whatever. Because I don't know. I think this is where you and we have to talk more about this, because it's like, you believe that sadness is just poof, goes, like literally can go away, be gone forever.
It's meant to completely go away.
Right. I have yet to experience that. So I'm more like,
Can't wait.
I know,
Can't
right?
Wait. Can't wait.
I'm more like, okay, I let go of some of this, or I've, transmuted a little bit of it, but it's like, I just have a different perspective on it now. Like, it's always going to, like, I'm always going to be a divorced woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's always going to hurt. That's a loss.
Do you want it to?
No.
Okay, well then, so
I love this so much.
So let's define pain for a second. So
okay.
So pain is guilt or hurt or sadness. Those emotions are what we define as pain. Hurt and sadness and guilt. Pain is meant to completely go away. It's something that no one is going to believe until you actually experience it. I didn't have an easy life growing up. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. My personal experience, I know that to be true. The reason why I'm so confident about that is because I've just seen it hundreds and we're talking about a complete it was really a complete healing. It was really powerful what you were saying last time. This thought that people have of like, this sadness is always going to be there, or I'm always going to feel this to some degree. It's because it was so horrific or horrible or sad what happened. It's just always going to be a part of me. You kind of mentioned that.
Yeah.
And if I say this with compassion, I understand why people feel that way. It's because it's been there for 50 years, right? I totally get it. So the Christian narrative of this, or the Christian, if you want to believe it as a symbol or as an actual reality, this is what Christ did. He chose to feel pain so that it could completely go away if we are willing to feel it ourselves. It's most of the time, I don't want to sound like an absolutist, but I would say most, if not all the time, it has to be a voluntary thing. I have to be willing to choose to go there. So feeling pain is the first step. And then the second is, pain is meant to be learned from. There's a deeper lesson. Just if you only feel pain and that's all you do, you willingly do that, you'll definitely feel some relief and lightness from that. But it won't completely go away until you, what you're talking about, replace it with something, until you learn the deeper lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So the visual of this is feel pain and then learn the deeper lesson. We'll talk more about that. And then the deeper lesson always leads to some kind of action, something I need to do to fully integrate or replace or let go of this pain. So you're in that process, and it's going to be a beautiful unfolding as we go through this together.
Yeah. Well, okay. I love that perspective, right? I love that perspective. And what I have found in my life is like, okay, I've had to kind of accept what has happened. I have to accept this is a part of me. It is definitely lessened, but I still can't imagine it not being there or completely going away because it makes me who I am. And so that sadness might not be all over me and I'm bleeding out, right? It's maybe really, really small, but it's this like beautiful reminder. And that's where the compassion, the empathy, that's like, that created my bandwidth. So I don't see it as something that just poof goes away. That sounds amazing. That sounds miraculous. And maybe it's just the professional sufferer in me that's like, I will suffer for this. It's just like you suffer less, but it's not, it's like a scar, like this scar is, maybe the perspective shifts and you're like, I love this scar,
Well, the scar is the memory
Yeah.
of it. But when you hit a scar, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
I guess it depends.
Right.
How,
No, I totally see where you're going.
But I see where you're coming from in that it is, there's gifts. How is it possible for someone to, if someone experienced something, I've seen this happen, not seen it in person, but in people, like a woman goes to a party and she gets raped. And this is a really hurtful and painful thing that happened to her. And as she goes through the process of letting go and of healing, she gets to a point where she actually, this once horrible experience actually becomes a gift.
Mhm.
So how can pain turn into a gift? If we go through the process of feeling it and learning a deeper lesson and acting on what we need to, then it becomes a gift. We gain wisdom. We gain perspective, we gain compassion, we gain all of these gifts that you're talking about. Those will not go away if you fully let go of the pain. And the truth is they are a result, a complete result of letting go of the pain. So so the fact that you're already sensing some of the benefit and some of the gift of it means you've already gone through the process of letting go completely of most of it. There might be a residue still there that's worth looking at, and where am I at in this process of feeling it, learning the lesson, and then the action part. If there is still pain there, we know that there's a little bit more work to do in that process, and we can, I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but this process is the real deal.
Not for the faint of heart. No, I love, that's why you're one of my dearest friends, because you have this hope. You have this, you meet Corey and he's like, no, but I know. Like, duh. Like, it just is to him. He's like, I've seen it happen. I see it happen all the time. I'm like, no. And we fight about it. But I feel what you're saying. And I am looking forward to experiencing that. I haven't yet.
Well, keep challenging me, because I'm learning too. But I'm very, very confident about a few things in this process of letting go of pain and the gifts that come from it. The gifts remain. Anything that is negative or difficult goes away. Very confident in that. So
yeah, that's why we started talking again.
Just seen it too many times.
You have.
Too many times. It's like, when you see it 6,000 times, and when people bring up real things like you're bringing up, like real, I love being challenged. I love, because I'm still learning too, and sometimes obviously I'm learning all the time. But I love being firm with some of this, being like, no, we're not going to bend on this. Like you gotta and to see what happens when people are willing to. Anyways. I go through that all the time, where in different ways, where I'm really sure about something, and then I get humbled, and I'm like, okay, so it's a process, Anyways, any other thoughts on what we're chatting about? 3 phases of healing, I guess we could call it.
No.
Okay. Why is it that some people experience pain, but it doesn't go away? Aren't I supposed to be feeling relief and a lightness, like Corey and Kimberly said?
Yeah.
So I'm experiencing pain. It's really there. I am experiencing it, but it's not going away.
If you have benefited from this podcast in any way, It would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, to allow us to keep it going and bring on inspirational human beings.